England, an ancient country with a history spanning 1,500 years, from Hastings to the Falklands, from Alfred the Great to Winston Churchill. Now follow me through Barnet in North London as I uncover the secrets of a very overshadowed event in this country's history, the Battle of Barnet. Join me on this journey as I have discussions with experts about the battle, as well as reflecting on how such events might be relevant today. Today I'm at the Barnet Museum with Mike, who works in the museum. Thank you very much for having me, Mike.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So now, please tell me about the events that led up to the Battle of Barnet.
Well, the Battle of Barnet was fought in 1471, but it was part of the Wars of the Roses. And the Wars of the Roses started in 1455 with a battle in St Albans, and the Wars of the Roses developed. There were a number of battles around England, and in 1461, in the Battle of Towton, the Yorkists won the victory, and a general called the Earl of Warwick helped to put Edward IV onto the throne. Edward IV, the Yorkist king, on the throne.
At the beginning of the conflict, the 16th Earl of Warwick, Richard Neville, had sided with the Yorkists. However, in 1461, after the Battle of Towton, he defected to the Lancastrians due to his frustration with Edward IV becoming increasingly nepotistic. Now, the Earl of Warwick was by far the most important figure in the Wars of the Roses, often being referred to as a kingmaker due to his vital role as the arbiter of royal power, helping both Edward and Henry take the throne on two separate occasions. Richard's wife, Margaret of Agenais, was also very important. As a French noblewoman, she helped the Lancastrians by gaining support from France by establishing diplomatic relations.
Warwick, by this time, had become the Lancastrians' leader, and he marched down from Coventry to fight Edward the Yorkist, and Edward went march up from London to meet Warwick, and they met at Barnet, which is on the road between between Coventry and London.
The battle began with the Duke of Oxford leading a charge into the Yorkist left flank, which was commanded by the Duke of Hastings. Hastings' men were routed by the devastating charge, being pursued and killed as they fled towards London, thinking that the battle was lost and Edward had been killed. While Oxford was pursuing Hastings' men, the Earl of Warwick led a second offensive towards the Yorkist vanguard, led by Edward, while Henry of Exeter charged into the Yorkist right flank, which was commanded by Gloucester. The lines shifted towards the east as the Yorkists were pushed back. As the melee continued, Lancastrian victory seemed inevitable, until disaster struck.
Then the Lancastrian Earl of Oxford said, "We've got to go back into the battle and finish off the Yorkists." They went back into the battle thinking that they were actually going into the King's troops, into Edward IV's troops, and to finish the battle off. But in fact, the battle had turned round, so they ended up going into Montague's troops, and Montague was in the centre of the Lancastrians. So they went into their own men, and basically it was friendly fire, or really unfriendly fire. They fought each other, and that caused all sorts of confusion. It also meant that the Lancastrians who were winning were starting to lose, and some of the Lancastrians even thought that they'd been betrayed because the Earl of Oxford had deliberately changed sides, and some of them left the battlefield. So from being in a winning position, the Lancastrians then started to lose.
Edward would take advantage of this pandemonium by sending in his reserve heavy cavalry to attack the Lancastrian flanks, shattering their lines while killing and routing them as they charged through the field. In the chaos of battle, the Earl of Warwick would be killed alongside his son, John Neville. The Battle of Barnet had ended. and Edward IV emerged victorious. Right now, I'm in front of the Barnet obelisk, which marks the place where historians believe the Earl of Warwick died during the Battle of Barnet. Now, eyewitness accounts from the time state that the Earl of Warwick died while fleeing, which is ironic since he fought on foot, and a dismounted nobility indicated that they were fighting alongside the commoners and they wouldn't flee. But now, let's address the real question. How is the Battle of Barnet remembered today? You walk down the streets of Barnet, you see flags waving in the air, depicting the heraldry of noble houses that fought in the War of the Roses. You will also see various memorials, like the one I'm standing in front of right now, with a woman with a silly name in the middle. And now, the relevance of the Wars of the Roses in the modern day is also reflected in pop culture, specifically through the Game of Thrones series, which was inspired by the events that took place in the 15th century.